So I believe we are already live. No. So I believe we are live. So Garvit sir, just do let me know when we are live. We are live, sir. All right. So a very warm good evening to everyone who are joining us today. Welcome to this very fun and exciting session of Space this month, the edition of November 2025. So today we have a very exciting and a very quite different format of session in which we are going to take up the very important events that are coming up in the month of November with related to space science and astronomy. And this is important because so that you all can have a heads up for the winter months that are coming up, months in which astronomy and space science will be flourishing like anything, and the skies will become really beautiful so that you all can use your optical instruments such as your telescopes, your binoculars. You can go out, and even through naked eyes you can actually witness some of the most exciting celestial events that are taking place in the next month. So before we proceed, let me just give you a heads up of some of the important events that are coming up in the month of November from our side, that is Spacetopia. So the first event is on the 7th of November, where we come up with a STEM challenge for you, where you will be using the sticky dust and find out what is the specialty about the dust in Moon, Mars, and other planets. That will be followed up by the latest and interesting developments that are coming up with the latest comet, that is 3I Atlas, which I believe that many of you are already aware about, that it might be an alien object. So we'll know more about it and we'll unravel what are the facts, what are the fiction about it on 12th of the month. And then on 21st, we'll have an exciting session and exciting interaction on the Curiosity rover, one of the flagship rovers from our humanity and from NASA, and we'll find that what are the special achievements that it has achieved in the past decade. And covering up all those sessions, we'll have a very fun and exciting mega quiz that will come up at the end of the next month, where top three participants will get certificates and other rewards as well. So make sure that you attend all the three sessions that I showed you previously so that you get better chances of, acing the quiz and becoming a winner. Well, with that cleared up, let me also give you a heads up about the very fascinating National Astronomy Challenge that has already begun, which is one of the biggest national level competitions that is held in the field of astronomy and space science, where you get the opportunity to participate in a national level contest, and you can even win it. And when you win it, you will be taken to a sponsored tour to the Udaipur Solar Observatory. So stay tuned till the end to know more about it. Well, let's now come back to the events that are taking place in the month of November. So November is really packed up. If you look at the calendar, then you have certain birthdays that are coming up, certain special events, and most importantly, very important sky events that are coming up in the domain of celestial events. So just to cover them quickly, let's go through the birthdays of some important personalities that have actually played a very important role in the field of space science, astronomy, and even physics and general science. And for many of you, you might have heard those scientists. So let's commemorate the achievements that they actually had. So let's begin that with our own home country, that is India, where we begin from one of the finest physicists, that is Sir Chandrasekhar Venkat Raman. Sir C.V. Raman was born on 7th of November in 1888, and some of you might be aware that he's very famous for winning the Nobel Prize in Physics for the Raman effect. Now, you might ask, what is the Raman effect? Well, in very simple terms, whenever light, it interacts with any object, then some of it gets scattered while some of it gets absorbed. Among those scattered light rays, there are some rays that do not change their wavelength. Okay, so for those of you who are not aware of the term wavelength, it's somewhat related to frequency. Okay, so you can consider it as the length of each wave out of which that light is made up of. So basically, it does not change its wavelength or nature after getting scattered. So that is called Rayleigh scattering. However, there are certain light rays which actually change their wavelength after interacting with the molecules of that material. And that's what was discovered by Sir C.V. Raman. Therefore, the name Raman scattering was given, where the wavelength may either increase or the wavelength sometimes decrease. Now, this Raman scattering is really important because it brings up a very special domain called Raman spectroscopy, where the incident light's wavelength is not equal to the scattered light's wavelength. And this particular principle is actually used to determine the molecular structure and to identify unknown compounds. So let's say we have any kind of unknown protein, we have any kind of unknown or new kind of sample that we have found, we can determine their structure, we can determine their 3D structure with the help of this Raman spectroscopy. So therefore, due to its wide variety of applications in the field of science and medicine, he was awarded the Nobel Prize in Physics. After C.V. Raman, next up we come to England, that is today known as United Kingdom, where we come up with the birthday of again a very famous person called Edmund Halley, who was an English astronomer and mathematician. And Edmund Halley, which some of you might also have guessed, you can give me a guess in the chat box that what is Halley famous for. He was born on 8th of November in 1656, and his special achievements include the discovery of the Halley's Comet, which was, of course, the answer of some of you as well, I believe. Halley's Comet was actually very special, not only because of the fact that he discovered it and it became one of the first comets to be known, but also because of the way in which it was discovered. This Halley's Comet was not something that he was actually looking out for in the sky. Of course, he also didn't know, but he just took up the observations, the comet observations that were taken in 1531, in 1607, and in 1682. And for some math geniuses who are with us today, you can just quickly calculate the difference between these years. You'll find that the difference was about 75 to 76 years. And that's where he actually clicked in its mind that it was the same comet that was coming again and again. It was in 1531, then in 1607, then in 1682. And therefore, he confirmed that it was the same comet. And to commemorate his discovery, it was named as the Halley's Comet. Okay, so our math geniuses out here, let me tell you that it was last in 1986 that we found that we had actually observed the Halley's Comet. So how about you tell me in the chat box that when will be the year when we'll again observe the Halley's Comet next? Well, Edmund Halley was, not only famous for the Halley's Comet, he had done not only the discovery, but he had also drawn out the path. So if you look at the Halley's Comet today, then in 2023, it was almost at the end of the solar system, almost beyond the orbit of Neptune. And the last close approach to the sun was actually, as I said, in 1986. And therefore, for those of you who might not have calculated by now, the its visibility will be back again in 2061 to 2062. Okay. Now, after discussing about Edmund Halley, let's move on to United States of America, where a lot of things are going on as of now. But there have been several important, eminent personalities that have come up from this country. And one of them is the very famous person, especially in our astronomy domain. His name is Carl Sagan, an American astronomer and a planetary scientist. He was born on 9th of November in 1934. And among all his achievements, of course, there are a lot of things that he has actually done throughout his life. Most notable ones include the popularization of SETI, which stands for Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence. And SETI was actually a domain which was found by NASA, but it was not funded well, and it was also not recognized or popularized. That thing was done by Carl Sagan, and he actually developed the awareness among people, the importance of such kind of department which should be there in all countries because of the increased possibility of contact with aliens or probably with alien life. Along with that, his popularity was even enhanced when he actually worked on a very famous TV series of that time called Cosmos, A Personal Voyage. So let me just quickly give you a glimpse of the trailer of this particular Cosmos series. And after today's session, you all can put it in your playlist to watch it sometime. It's an amazing series. Okay.
Some part of our being knows this is where we came from. And we long to return. And we can, because the cosmos is also within us. We're made of star stuff. We are a way for the cosmos to know itself.
Some of the very famous words that you might have heard written here and there in different books, in comics and stuff from Carl Sagan. We are made of star stuff. Of course, we are made of stuff which is already present in the universe, which is already present in space. It's not something that has suddenly come up on the Earth. So it's a very fun and exciting series. Recommend all of you to just go out and watch. And one of the famous works that he has done is designing the golden record on the Voyager's missions. Now, for people who are not aware, Voyagers are sets of missions which have accomplished great things very recently. And both the Voyagers have actually gone beyond our solar system, the only man-made objects to have actually crossed, the entire boundary of our solar system. And one of the finest things that those Voyagers actually have is called the Golden Record, which was designed and developed by Carl Sagan. If you closely look at this Golden Record, this was basically a CD, a huge disc that can be played by anyone who is able to actually find that spacecraft. However, their technology might be different from ours. That therefore, there have been certain instructions, certain messages that have been engraved on that golden record on that disk itself. To just give you a brief overview, then this particular image on the top left actually represents the pictorial plan view of the record. The rays on the bottom show the location of our sun with respect to 14 different pulsars. For some of you who are not aware, pulsars are something which is related to black holes. So just let me know in the chat that what exactly are pulsars and how we can deduce the location of any star with the help of those pulsars. Then there are certain other images also that have been formed. For example, the wave-like structure that you can see in the disk represents the general appearance of waveform of the video signals that have been recorded in that disk. And just below that, you have the video image frame, which shows the direction in which the disk needs to be scanned so that an image can be formed. In fact, whenever an alien actually finds this disk, when they play it, the first image that will be formed out of the disk will be this circle within the rectangle, which you can see just over here, just below this annotation. So that the instruction to actually properly play that disk has actually been engraved in this. And finally, at the bottom, you can see that there are two circles which are labeled as one. They actually represent the states of hydrogen atom, which act as a reference fundamental clock, a clock which acts as a reference for the entire universe. So with the help of that, they can deduce even the time with respect to us when we had launched that mission and how long has this mission been going after the launch. And talking about people from the USA, after Carl Sagan, we also have a very famous personality, which again, many of you might have heard, Edwin Hubble, a very famous American astronomer. Again, a person who was born on 20th of November in 1889 and very famous for the Hubble's law and especially for the Hubble sequence, because these things are famous because of the fact that there is a telescope which has been named after Edwin Hubble, that is the Hubble Space Telescope. However, that is actually not his achievement. That is something we have done to commemorate his achievements. His actual achievement includes the Hubble's law, which forms the basis of understanding of our universe today, which states that as the distance among the galaxies, as the distance between the galaxies increases, the speed also increases. So that simply means that the far away you are from a galaxy, the further it is moving away from you, the faster it is moving away from you. And that actually forms the basis of the Big Bang theory, which some of you might be aware of. And along with that, he also worked extensively on the galaxies and created a classification system for the galaxies, which is also known as the tuning fork structure. You can see it is similar to a tuning fork. People who are acquainted with physics might be aware of that. People who are younger, when you go to your higher classes, you will learn about tuning fork. Such kind of diagram was actually used as a classification system for the galaxies. And last but not the least, let's also commemorate the achievement of a very famous, German scientist And to be very frank with you, he was not only a German scientist, he was a German British astronomer as well as a music composer, a person named William Herschel. For people who might not have heard, this was the object that was discovered by Herschel. So just quickly give me in the chat box if you are aware that what exactly is this object. Well, Herschel was born on 15th of November in 1738, and discovering the planet Uranus was actually one of the finest achievements that Herschel had. And along with that, many people might not be aware, he also discovered the infrared radiation, which is one of the radiations in the entire electromagnetic spectrum. Talking about Uranus, you might think that how did he just suddenly discover Uranus? Well, nobody just goes out and searches for any object which is present in the sky, right? He was actually, he during his era, you might have observed he was born during the 1700s. So during that time, of course, we didn't have very advanced telescopes. He literally built a huge telescope above the rooftop of a house. It was a 40-foot reflector telescope that you can see in the picture right now, and he was actually observing the night sky with very high clarity because it was a reflector telescope and one of the finest of that times. And suddenly he observed a star-like structure which was moving, which was behaving far different from a star. And after multiple observations, he concluded that it was not actually a star. It was a planet, which was eventually named as Uranus, which actually forms the seventh planet of our solar system. So that is one of the finest and foremost achievements of William Herschel. Oh, well, with that, we have now commemorated the achievement of some of the most important personalities whose birthdays are coming up in November. But apart from certain personalities, there are also certain celestial objects that also have their own special events. So let's celebrate the achievements in the field of Mars exploration, because very close to the beginning of November, we have Red Planet Day, which is coming up. That is on 28th of November. Okay. And this Red Planet Day is something that is celebrated to commemorate the achievements with related to Mars exploration, with related to the developments that we have had on Mars. And you might also be aware that there have been numerous rovers that have been sent to Mars. So just to quickly commemorate the Red Planet Day, let's look at some amazing facts about Mars. You think winter is cold on Earth? Well, temperatures on Mars can be as low as 190 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay. And even some of you might be aware that the red planet is home to the largest volcano of the solar system, which is named as Olympus Mons. Okay. If anybody knows, you can tell me in the chat section that what is the height of this Olympus Mons, which is the largest volcano in the entire solar system. So just imagine, even planets which are far bigger than Mars, such as Jupiter and Saturn, they also do not have volcanoes as big as the Olympus Mons. So just let me know how big or how high it is. It takes about 687 days for Mars to orbit the sun. That means almost double our time. That means double the Earth year. And even scientists believe that there were once rivers, lakes, and many other kinds of water bodies that were present on the planet, but eventually they got frozen up. That is why you might be aware that we have actually found frozen water. That means water ice, especially on the polar regions of Mars. And some of you might be aware that the planet's red color comes from the high levels of iron oxide minerals that are very, frequently found on the surface. So just let me know in the chat that how many of these amazing facts did you actually know? And is there any other amazing fact about Mars that I may have missed? Just let me know in the chat or the comments. Okay. Commemorating the Red Planet Day, we should also not forget one of the finest rovers, about which we also have a session that is coming up in the next month. Again, the details of which we'll talk about at the end. There is the anniversary of the Curiosity rover on 26th of November. And why 26th of November? That's because 26th of November was the date when the Curiosity rover was actually launched from Earth. And some of the key achievements of this rover actually includes the discovery of liquid water, because it found evidence of ancient lake beds and flowing water. Just now we saw that scientists believed there were water bodies, right? It was Curiosity who actually confirmed that. Okay, and then scientists could actually turn their theory into practice. Discovery of atmosphere was also another thing that very much surprised us. And Curiosity actually collected data which showed that Mars actually had a thicker atmosphere and probably a magnetic field millions of years ago. And what does that mean? presence of atmosphere, presence of water, presence of even organic compounds that Curiosity found by digging into the surface of Mars, such as carbon, nitrogen, sulfur, phosphorus, simply shows that there are definitely signs of life, not today, but probably millions of years ago. There might have been some kind of life that was present on Mars. So it is for us to actually discover that how that life actually went off, or where did that life actually go? Or is there any other kind of life form that is evolving currently? Well, it is for you to find out. With that said, let me also tell you once again, talking about special events, we have the event of STEM Challenge, which is coming up on 7th of November, a very exciting event about the comet 3I Atlas, about which there have been numerous rumors, and there have been also speculations if it's an alien object that has come into our solar system. And also, we have a session on the Curiosity rover itself. Since it has achieved so much, we did have a dedicated session on 21st. And once you attend these three sessions, it will become quite easy for you to ace up the mega quiz that is coming up for you on 28th of November, where top three participants or top three winners will actually get certificates and other rewards as well. So make sure that you attend those events so that you get the best chance of winning those certificates and rewards. With that said, let's now come to the most exciting part, which some of you might be very excited about, and that is the sky or the celestial events. Let's witness some spectacular celestial events that are coming up in the month of November, starting with the Torrids meteor shower, which has already started, to be very frank with you, but the peak of that meteor shower will be on the night of November 4 to 5. So it's called Torrids meteor shower because it will have a radiant point, that is the point from which it appears to come from the sky. That will be the constellation Taurus, the bull. Viewing conditions will be, of course, after midnight, since it's a meteor shower, away from city lights. And meteorites is actually characterized by fireballs and some occasional bright meteors as well. And if you look at something about meteor shower called ZHR, that is called zenithal hourly rate, it will be 5 to 10 meteors per hour. For people who are not aware, ZHR is actually something which is very prominent whenever you talk about meteor shower. It represents the number of meteors that you are able to actually see from that radiant point every hour. Okay, so usually for torids, it ranges from 5 to 10. So this picture is a schematic representation of how the torids meteor shower would look like. The northern and the southern. They have been named northern and southern simply based on the direction from which they come from with respect to the Taurus constellation. Okay, so there is not much difference between the visibility of both. However, there is a catch of watching the Taurus meteor shower that will come. Just stay tuned for a few more minutes where I give you a stellarium view of the meteor shower, and that time I will make it clear to you why it won't be a very good idea to stay awake for watching the Taurus meteor shower. Well, talking about watching meteor shower, let's look at the more prominent one, which is actually very good to watch in the month of November. That is the Leonids meteor shower, for which the peak will be on the night of 17th to 18th of November. Again, the radiant point will be the constellation Leo, therefore the name Leonids. Viewing conditions are similar, visible, of course, after midnight, especially in the early morning away from city lights. And Leonids is characterized by fast, brilliant streaks. You will find very fast meteors which are moving at speeds of over 70 kilometers per second. Okay, that's how fast they are. So just you blink an eye and a meteor will be gone. So make sure that you do not blink on that morning. And then you have the ZHR again for Leonids, which is much higher when compared to Taurids. That is about 15. Sometimes it may go even higher than that. So the schematic representation of Leonids looks something like this, where you have the Leo, the Lion constellation, from which you have the Leonids meteor shower, which appears to come. And if you closely notice, there is a small picture of the moon that has been shown on the bottom of the diagram. You can see, and you can see that a small crescent-shaped moon is actually highlighted. And that is something that makes a very big impact when you go out for watching meteor showers. So for the Taurids, the moon will be illuminated to almost 99%. That means it will be almost a full moon. And there is also something very special about that full moon. We'll come to that in a minute. Due to that, Taurids won't be a very good idea to watch out and stay awake all throughout the night. Instead, go out on the night of 17th and just stay awake till 3 or 4 in the morning, if 5 in the morning if possible, and have a look at the Leonids. Because of the small moon phase, because of the very less moon phase, the Leonids will be very clearly visible. Added to that, it also has a good ZHR to view it on the dawn of November 17th as well as November 18th. Talking about the moon, how about you tell me in the chat section that what's so special about this picture? Now, I'm sure that all of you might have guessed that this is the picture of the moon, but what's so special about this picture of the moon? So, if you closely notice, then this picture of the moon actually looks slightly bigger, looks slightly brighter when compared to the normal full moons that we have. And that is the reason that this particular type of moon has been given a special term called supermoon, which is occurring on 5th of November. When a full moon occurs at the closest point to Earth during its orbit, it appears much larger and much brighter compared to the normal full moon. That is the reason it has been termed as supermoon. And to just give you a heads up, in October, in this current month right now, supermoon has already happened. It's the second supermoon of the year that is coming up in November, and there's also third supermoon, again similar thing, that is coming up on December, which is a very rare occasion where three supermoons are occurring in a continuous fashion. So just stay tuned for 5th of November, where you will be able to go out and witness this supermoon. Now, what is the reason behind this supermoon? If you look at the orbit of the moon, just like other celestial objects, the orbit is elliptical. So that means that at some portion, the moon will be very close to the Earth, while in some portion, the moon will be quite away from the Earth. So the point at which the moon is farthest from the Earth is called apogee, which is somewhere over 400,000 kilometers. Whereas the point at which it is closest to the Earth is called perigee, which is somewhere in the range of 360,000 kilometers. Due to this close distance, the moon appears to become larger. Of course, the moon will not grow in size, right? So if you compare the moon, which is visible at the apogee, with the moon which is visible at the perigee, this is how it looks like. At the perigee, the moon, since it appears bigger, it is called supermoon, and technically it is 14% brighter and 30%, 14% bigger and 30% brighter than the micromoon, which is again the term which has been given for the smallest full moon that is visible in the case of the apogee. That means in the case when the moon is furthest from our Earth in its orbit. So that's about the supermoon. And again, utilizing the same concept, the supermoon will come up in December as well. So stay tuned for both of them. And talking about the moon, there is also something which is very, again, famous among the astronomers and especially in space science, which is called conjunction. And the moon itself will appear to come very close to the planet Jupiter. Therefore, it will be called as the Moon Jupiter conjunction, which is occurring on the night of November 10 to 11. Again, it is a phenomenon where two celestial objects appear very close to each other in the sky. Don't get me wrong, the two objects are, of course, not coming close to each other in actuality, because the moon is very far from Jupiter, right? But in the sky from Earth, it appears to come very close. For example, in the picture, you can see that Venus and Mars appear to be very close. So that means it's a Venus-Mars conjunction. Similarly, there's a Saturn-Mercury conjunction. So therefore, usually when two objects are quite close, that you can see them in within one frame of your binoculars or within one frame of your telescope, then usually in that sense it is called as a conjunction. And on 10th of November, on the eve, you are getting a Moon Jupiter conjunction. So it will be a very nice opportunity for you to click pictures of Moon and Jupiter together. And if you have some kind of optical instrument, it will be a great opportunity for you to have a look at the Moon and Jupiter together. So how about I give you a quick view through the Stellarium, which is a website or also an app which you can download on your phones, laptops, and other devices, through which you can have a simulation of the entire night sky, and you can actually witness all the different astronomical phenomena, their timings, their dates, and everything with the help of this particular app. So how about I give you a tour of all these celestial events quickly through Stellarium, so that you can get a view that what it will look like on that particular day. Since we are talking about moon, let's begin with the moon itself. Remember, we talked about the supermoon. So when you go to Stellarium, you will get multiple options over here. So what you can do is that you can simply search for any kind of celestial objects over here. I've searched for moon, so it shows out in the history itself. So when you click on moon, it will show you all the different information about the moon. You also have an option of changing the date and time, that what the moon will look like on that particular day. So if you remember, our supermoon was actually in 5th of November. So that let's take the date to 5th of November. And as you can see, the timing is 19:00, which of course is in 24-hour format. That means the timing is 7 p.m. So let's just zoom in quickly with the help of the mouse. I can just quickly zoom in, and you can see this is how your supermoon will look like. Of course, Stellarium shows a simulation, so the full moon and the supermoon will be shown in a similar fashion. Okay, but among this complex plethora of information, you can see something called illuminated over here, where my arrow is present. So illumination is 99.9%. That means it will be a full moon. And the special thing about it is that since it is very close to the Earth, it's at its perigee position, it will be a supermoon. So that's how it will look like. You can see how much I can actually zoom. Okay. But again, don't get me wrong. This is not the actual picture of the moon that you can see. This is a simulation that Stellarium shows, but with the most accurate amount of data that is possible. After moon, we also talked about the moon Jupiter conjunction, right? So let's focus on the moon itself, and let's take the date to 10th of November, because on the night of 10th of November, we expect the moon Jupiter conjunction to occur. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to just zoom out, and let me just see that what is where our moon is actually present. Okay, on that particular day. So with the moon, I should be able to point out Jupiter as well because it's a conjunction. So let me just increase the time because it's already 10th of November on this particular app. So let me just increase the time, and yeah, you can see very closely that Stellarium itself shows there is Jupiter, which is very close to the moon. Let me just zoom in for you all, and you can see over here, Moon and Jupiter are quite close. I've zoomed in, so they might appear quite far in your screen, but they will actually appear pretty close. So what you can do is that for the supermoon, of course, it will be clearly visible in the night sky because it will be so big and bright. But for the Moon-Jupiter conjunction, since the moon phase is somewhere around 64.8, you can see that it will be a waning crescent moon on that night. You can just look towards the eastern northeastern sky on the midnight of November 11 to 12, on the midnight of November 10 to 11, and you can have a look and you can witness the moon Jupiter conjunction. So very in the midnight to very early in the morning, you can actually have the best look of the moon Jupiter conjunction. Apart from that, you can also explore Stellarium to just know more about different kind of objects, including not only natural but man-made objects as well, such as satellites, ISS, and stuff. So what I'm going to do is that along with this, I'm going to give you a quick look towards the meteor showers as well. So we had talked about Leonids, remember? Because Taurids, again, in the case of Taurids, I will just quickly show you that the moon phase is not that good. That means the moon phase is pretty high, so meteor showers won't be visible that prominently. However, for Leonids, you can see it's already present at a good height in the sky. However, the moon phase is quite high at this time. But if you remember, I had told you that the best time for viewing the Leonids is somewhere near, 17 to 18. So let's take the date to 17th and let's take it to 18th, in the morning of 18th. And you can see that on the morning of 18th, the moon has already set. The moon is nowhere present in the sky. As you can see, let me just zoom out. You can see that the moon is not present. And since the moon is not present, there won't be any light pollution and you will be able to clearly see the Leonids. Now, to just quickly clarify to you all, on Stellarium, it shows that the Leonids is coming from the eastern direction. And to just give you a quick clarity, let me just turn on the constellation labels. For all of you are not aware, you can even view the constellations on Stellarium. So let me just turn on the labeling and the lines as well. You can see that it appears to come from the Lion, the Leo constellation. Therefore, the name Leonids has been given. You can see that although it says that it's coming from that constellation, practically when you look at the night sky, it will appear to come from all the different directions. So it's not like that you need to focus just towards the eastern sky. Just make sure that you are continuously focusing your camera or your instrument or simply your eyes towards the sky so that you can witness the meteor shower. However, I cannot vouch the same thing for the Taurids, because let me just search for Taurids. You can see northern and southern. Let's go for the northern Taurids, and you can see that the Taurids appear to come from the Taurus or the Bull constellation. Therefore, they have been given the name Taurids. And even if we go to the date where we had discussed, if you remember, then the date for looking at the Taurids was near the supermoon date itself. That means near about 4th to 5th. So let me take you to the 4th to 5th. You can see that on 5th, we already have the supermoon. So it's not only a normal full moon, it's a supermoon. So there's no chance that you'll be actually able to witness the Taurids properly, especially from our country, that is India. And you can try out other dates. It's a homework for you to find out. You can go to Stellarium. Either you can use the mobile app or you can do it on your laptops or computers as well. And it's for you to find out that what is the good date for observing the torids, if at all it's possible in the month of November. Well, with that said, let me just quickly take you back. Let me just close it up and let me just quickly take you back to our presentation. So, with that said, I hope that you all now have a very good idea about the different events that are coming up. And with the help of Stellarium, you can explore it even further. All the different celestial events that are coming up, not only in the month of November, but even further. And I believe that all of you will now keep a heads up and all of you will now be aware of when you should keep yourself ready for witnessing these celestial events and for commemorating the achievements of different, important personalities that have played a very important role in the domain of space science and astronomy. Now, before we conclude today's session, let me just once again tell you that we have very exciting sessions which are coming up in the month of November. For people who might have missed in the beginning, let me just reiterate that you have a very exciting STEM challenge, which is based on the lunar dust, that means on the moon dust, that is coming up on 7th of November. On 12th, we'll have a closer look at this comet 3I Atlas, for which there have been various speculations, whether it's, an alien object or whether it's something that we should be actually, excited about or something that we should be afraid of. And then on 21st, we'll have a very exciting session on Curiosity rover, and we'll see that if Curiosity has been able to accomplish what it was actually meant to. And once you attend these sessions, you'll become completely fit to actually participate in the mega quiz that is occurring towards the end of the month, that is on 28th of November, where the top three winners will get participates, will get certificates and also other rewards. So make sure that you attend the first three events so that you have the best chance of winning this quiz. And apart from that, let me also introduce you to the flagship competition that we have that is called the National Astronomy Challenge. Now, this National Astronomy Challenge is actually a national level competition that is held so that kids like you who are very excited in the domain of space science and astronomy, you all can get an opportunity to participate on a national level and you can win a competition so that you can get some exciting rewards. This is the official website of National Astronomy Challenge, that is nationalastronomy.org. When you go to this website, you will get various videos which explain you what exactly is this challenge, what are the ways in which you can participate. Although you can participate individually, but I recommend that you participate through your school because you will get many more benefits through that. So make sure that you let your friends and teachers in your school know about this so that you all can actually participate in this particular contest. As you can see, it's several years that we have actually conducted this NAC, and this is the seventh edition of NAC that we are going to conduct, where this year we are going to take you to the Udaipur Solar Observatory, which is located in Udaipur, one of the foremost and finest observatories which is present in the entire continent of Asia. A lot of things to learn from there, but make sure that you need to win the competition. Top winners from each grade will only be taken to a sponsored trip to this observatory. Now, you might ask that how would you actually prepare for this? Well, of course, keeping yourself updated about space science and astronomy is, of course, the primary and foremost thing. But apart from that, if you go to our Spacetopia website, you will get certain ebooks. And with the help of those ebooks, you can actually prepare yourself. So based on your grade, you can actually you can buy those ebooks, and you can through a minimum price you can actually buy those ebooks, and you can get very nice interactive content in those ebooks. You will have quizzes, you will have puzzles, you have audio videos as well, which will explain you the concepts in a very fun and engaging manner, and you'll be able to actually learn more about what are the different concepts that are covered up in each grade. Okay, and based on your grade you can actually go about these particular topics, and you can prepare yourself for this National Astronomy Challenge, and you can have the best chance of winning this contest. So I believe that that gives you a good clear idea about the National Astronomy Challenge, and I believe that that gives you a good idea of what are the events, what are the exciting things that are coming up in the month of November. So once again, I thank you all so much for joining in today's session. I hope that it gives you a clear-cut idea and you all are now aware of the things that are coming up in this celestial month of November. So do make sure that you follow us on our social media channels, on our social media pages, And if you have any queries, if you have any doubts, or if you want to know anything about any of these, you can contact us at this particular email ID that you can see on your screen. So thank you so much for joining. Have a great day and have a great night sky. Thank you and good night.